This week we're reviewing a new game called Sunless Sea. This is a game that was started on Kickstarter from Fail Better Games. It is a alternate steampunk universe version of 19th century London. It takes place in the same universe as their previous game. The previous game was called Fallen London. Fallen London is now the location for Sunless Sea. And Fallen London is the London we know and love, except it has sunk beneath the earth and is now surrounded by an underground sea. And there's a lot of gameplay elements that we kind of have to talk through so you can get a sense of what's going on. It's primarily an RPG, but there's different modes of play depending on what you're doing. So actually, the one thing we should mention first is it's a highly stylized visual art style. And there's a custom soundtrack, like a very stylized soundtrack, and all sorts of sound design elements that are combined are supposed to immerse you in this world. And it just hit Steam Early Access for Mac and Windows, and a Linux version is coming soon. I think you can also get it in the Humble store. There were some references to that on their website. And they've got a roadmap up that kind of talks about what sort of things they're working on and what order. And also written in Unity, like almost every other game we've played this year. So when you start the game, basically you are asked to choose a character name. And you choose a backstory for your character, and that influences what some of your initial sort of abilities are. And the gameplay is the thing that's hardest to describe because there's a lot of different modes of gameplay. So when you're traversing the seas, there's a top-down map-style interface that you have for your ship as you're going out and exploring and trying to find these new islands. Once you've encountered some enemy or something out on the ship, you switch into this pseudo turn-based, kind of like card battle style system, where you play like a discover or a flare card, for example, to try to see your opponent better, and then you launch a salvo at them to try to hit them out. And you'll just encounter these, bats and sea creatures and other ships and all sorts of things, and you take them out and then take the proceeds home. So you've got that, and then you've got, once you've arrived on one of these islands, you're talking to the townspeople, you're picking up quests, and you're gathering information to take back to Fallen London, and then you get paid for that. So you're kind of out gathering intelligence for this shadowy admiral. And if that wasn't enough, there's also sort of there's resource management. So as you're going out in the seas, you have to keep track of your fuel and your hunger and your terror, which is something we'll talk about. And you're also kind of doing these choose your own adventure style story type missions where you're, as you're out gathering information for the admiral, you're actually kind of developing your own story about like what happens in your world. Okay, so I think we covered everything. There's a lot of stuff going on in the game, so we kind of need to talk about a little, what those elements are. So just to get an idea of what the typical flow is, you'll start in London, you'll pick up some sort of quest, you'll go out on the map, you'll find somewhere to land, and then you'll talk to the people and then head back. So it's kind of that whole cycle over and over again. So, Justin. A couple of things occurred to me about this, and I feel like this could go either way for you. Okay. Because when we reviewed Kentucky Route Zero, you liked, I think, the story elements, but there was no actual choice. You're just always saying next, 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 next. And this seems like it has a lot more gaminess, to the game. So it's not just sort of like the story is not being told at you. You're deciding what the story is, and you actually have to engage and make decisions.
Right.
So I'm really curious what you think.
I think you're absolutely right. So there was even a point in Sunless Sea where you are given the opportunity to add a new crewman to your crew that you just sort of randomly meet on one of the islands while you're out. And right next to the button, it said in blue text, "This choice will have consequences later in the game." I was like, I'm sold. This is perfect. I want consequences. So yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, it definitely feels like all the stuff that you do really like winds up mattering a lot, which is cool. The thing, overall, the game I find strangely compelling. Like I played it until like 2 a.m. last night, and I honestly can't really tell you why. Like the difficulty is punishing. Yeah. It's really hard.
Although we should say, so when I was looking at sort of their FAQ that's up right now, one of the things they say is that they know there needs to be some balancing in terms of your abilities when you start, and where you actually end up. In other words, sort of the ramp up.
Yeah.
They know that there's some tweaking to do there. Apparently, you can go into the menu if you're playing the current release build. You can go into the menu and say there's like new stories available as one of the menu options.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And the FAQ says that if you do that, and theoretically the Steam one should download it automatically, but if you do that, you're supposed to get some sort of balancing updates.
Oh, interesting.
That would maybe make it not quite so harsh.
Okay.
But they know that's an area of improvement. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started 5 or 6 characters, and none of them lasted very long. The one cool mechanic, though, is that you can sort of pass things down, which I kind of want to talk about. But yeah, so I finally have sort of like felt like I've lasted a while, and I'm kind of figuring some things out, but it's still really tough. Like it's.
Did you play with permadeath on, or did you switch to manual?
No, I kept permadeath on the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's really tough, but overall, I think it's cool. I think there's definitely a long way for this game to go before it's going to be done. But I think this could be really cool when it's done. I don't know if I would rush out and tell people to go get it today, but I think that when this goes 1.0, it could be really cool.
So how would you contrast it with, I think one of the things that I'm interested in hearing from you guys is, a discussion of the idea versus the current level of polish. In other words, if the idea is really good, which it sounds like you think it is, and the polish maybe isn't up there quite where we want it to be, it might be worth checking out in a couple of months. Versus if you think the idea is not great, then I don't know. We'll see what Steve thinks. But like compared to when we did space-based DF9, it was. I mean, would you say that? Because I'm also kind of curious what we think about like early access games in general. Yeah. Like because that kind of soured our taste for them a little bit. Are you kind of more back in the pro column now, or are you still?
No, I think that this is. I mean, I enjoyed playing it. But I'm still waffling on how I feel about early access overall, because I do feel like sometimes it makes a poor first impression, and I think that this did an okay job, but I still think there's a lot of balancing, and like I said, the difficulty is just way too much right now. So I don't know. I'm sure they'll figure all that out. But when your first impression is you're dead, like that's hard to get over. So.
Are you gonna go back and play more?
Yeah, I may. Okay. Yeah, at this point, I kind of want to see if I can get myself out of the hole I'm kind of temporarily in right now. I have like no money in the game, and I'm not really sure how you recover from that. So we'll see. But yeah,
okay. Steve, we both loved Kentucky Route Zero, and this is kind of a superset of what that game is. There is a sort of choose your own adventure element, but there's more actiony things which you generally don't like, and there's a lot more consequences. So it's not choices in the sense of like Monkey Island, where you say I'm going to be this character in this particular way, and there is some of that, but it's really you're forging your own destiny in a way. You're kind of defining what the game is in some respects. So what do you think?
I mean, it doesn't feel all that much like Kentucky Route Zero to me at all. Like, I don't think I would have thought to compare it to that game.
Yeah, I don't think I would have.
Kentucky Route Zero is like very much about like it's like a story that just happens to be told in computer game form. And this just feels much more like a game. It reminds me of like Escape Velocity or something, where you have all these like there's this trading that goes on, and then it's exploration, and then there's you meet these go to these strange lands and meet these weird people. And it feels much more about exploration than you do some exploration in Kentucky Route Zero, but I feel like it's much more about about specifically unraveling the story that's being told in a very specific way, very specific order, trying to evoke specific emotions, which is not really feel.
This game or Kentucky Route Zero?
Kentucky Route Zero feels like that, versus this doesn't really have that that linear feel, or that like it's trying to tell a specific story. It's more like it's evoking a mood. And so, but I like the mood. I mean, I love the art style. The soundtrack is phenomenal. I like all the sound effects and that whole environment that it creates. I'm less of a fan of the combat aspects of it.
Although it's still not
it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not like Twitch combat really. So it's not like full on.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out the rules of it. Like, I died a lot at the very beginning, the same as you. Like, first I took off and I didn't know how to steer. I immediately plowed in an island and sunk. I was like, wow, that's great.
I think I did the same thing. I don't think I realized I don't think I realized how to dock, and so I just sort of slammed into the dock.
Yeah. So then I figured out like how to steer the next time, but then I was like, there was this thing following me, and then I didn't really know how to speed up, and so like then this crab caught me, and then like I couldn't figure out how to like fight the crab, because I kept like attack, like you can like attack, but you can also eliminate, and and like evade, and I tried attacking, and it wasn't doing any good.
You have to illuminate first.
I figured that out after about like 3 battles of like I died at the hands of this crab and at like some bats and like pirates. Like it'd
be awesome if your story took off as the crab then.
Yes. It'd be amazing. But eventually I figured that stuff out. But yeah, it is like, if it hadn't been for the fact that we had to review this game, I might have given up in frustration after like dying 5 times in a row. So it could do with a little bit, helping you out and ramping up at the beginning, because there's so much stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
But overall, I liked it. I think it's a lot of fun. I love the exploring the world, and I really like when you visit like new places and you can randomly go and like eat prawns at some weird place, or like, and then meet weird characters, and it's fun and kind of offbeat. I still don't really understand, like, completely grok the whole premise. Like, why does London need to be sunk, and how were bats involved, and like I feel like maybe there's some
other game maybe.
Yeah, and I feel like I wish it would kind of tie into the story here more. Maybe it does if you play it long enough, and like there's some larger mythos around all this stuff that haven't really discovered yet. But yeah, it's fun once you kind of figure out what you're doing. I feel like it feels more complete to me than Space-Based DF9 did, the other early access game that we played, where it felt like it had a pretty polished core of a game, and then you kind of play through that core, and there's like, well, what else do I do? And I feel like here there's like so much to do, and I could play for days probably and not run out of things to do. And then maybe the polish levels may be lower, but at least there's more breadth, and so I can kind of see the promise here for the real game and imagine what it'll be, versus like Space Base. There's this really polished core, and they have this like unbelievably long list of features they want to add, which is like, they're really not going to add all the features. They're not going to add time travel and like these 11,000 new kinds of objects and all these other game mechanics, like really. And so it's hard to see like where's it really going to go, versus here it feels like they have a pretty clear vision and they just need to finish executing on it. So I liked it.
Yeah, I think the thing that you said made me think I had a very similar experience, which was that you're kind of compelled to play, and it's kind of hard to identify exactly why. I feel exactly the same way. There's no one thing that's happening where you're like, oh, that's the reason I love this game. But it's like it just pulls you in for some reason, And I think it's a combination of the immersion, and the mood is really appealing, and there's an interesting like kind of paradox between the potentially really dark material, like the themes, and the more upbeat like music and more kind of cartoony art style. And I kind of dig that. It's almost like a Miyazaki thing in a way. You kind of got this blend of like dark and light, and I really dig that. And there is so much going on. Like I don't know if you guys like got different mascots and stuff. Did you?
No.
Okay, so you get initially. Did everybody get ferret first? Yeah. Okay. So I ran across some like really like ornery cat or something like that. And it's like, so you can choose a mascot. So you can put like, there's like, I've got the ferret who was like sleeping on the deck or whatever.
Comatose ferret.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so, but I ran across this crazy cat, and they're like, well, if you put the cat up there, then we're going to fight better for some reason.
Okay.
So I was like, all right. So I stowed the ferret and put the cat, and yep, sure enough, like you can take out chips and stuff better. But I mean, there's I had to actually take notes on it. I mean, usually I try not to, but in this case, there's so much going on. So art and the music, yes, great. Sound design, really was surprised by how good the sound design was. Tons of stuff going on. The writing actually is pretty funny. Like I forget what the name of the newspaper is. It's like the Spiteful something or other. Spiteful Herald or something like that.
That's awesome.
There's just all kinds of little touches like that.
I also love that you start out with a plausible surgeon on board your ship.
Yes. And I mean, there's some technical glitches. Like I think it was actually a bug that I couldn't turn up the resolution high enough in full screen mode to like make everything crisp. Because I had it momentarily, and then I tried to hit arrow, and then like I couldn't select again. So
yeah, it was really weird. Like when I opened the preferences, I played in windowed mode, not in full screen mode.
Yeah.
But when I opened the preferences, it was like, oh, choose your resolution, and it was preset to 1920 by 1080. Then if I touched anything, it would take that option away and not give it back. And I was like, how? What?
It's just a bug. Yeah. So it would have been better if I could have played it in that high resolution. I was stuck on like something by 900.
Well, I think the resolution might be affecting gameplay too, because there's a couple, like when you go to the shops in London, some of those like have a bit of a lengthy description underneath like the name of the shop. but it's cut off. It's truncated, and and when you mouse over it, there's no tooltip, and so you can't actually read the full text of what this is. And one of them is like, it's hard to make a profit buying things at full price, so you should ... And I'm like, no, you guys. And I was like, maybe I had to turn up the resolution. I'm like, this really sucks. Like, that's so bad.
That's horrible. Anyway, so there is the other kind of weird thing is that often the game state is just kind of like presented in a very kind of naked fashion. So it'll be like you got one time, or you lost one time's port story.
Yeah.
It's like, well, really what you mean is I just delivered the port story.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just sort of a weird thing. I mean, the biggest thing for sure is like there's just this like huge like learning curve, right? When you start the game, it's just like, here's everything. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, maybe
there needs to be like some starter missions or something to sort of like get you in the flow.
Yeah. And I think that should be attainable. You know, I think I'm hoping the later versions will do that. Like that was it was way easier than like Kerbal though. You know, Kerbal
I was just thinking of Kerbal, and Kerbal is like way worse than this.
It's literally rocket science level.
That's getting better though now. Have you seen about the first contract mission?
I saw one came out that was supposed to improve the story stuff, but I didn't.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in the after.
Okay. Yeah. What were you saying?
Oh, the thing that helped me out was when I realized that the journal itself actually has a lot of, tutorial or, like user guide like stuff in it. And if you like scroll down on like the first page, there's a bunch of stuff like how to actually, fight off all these enemies and, and all this stuff. I was like, oh, this was really useful to know if I would have known to look here at the beginning. Yeah. You can't get back there once you're in the middle of a battle. So it's really helpful to like read it before you leave London.
Well, but I think pretty much everything is on the forums that they have. It's like community.failbettergame.com.
Okay, cool.
So, there's tons of stuff in there. Just a couple quick things. So like I mentioned, the developer said they're actively working on the balancing for the difficulty. Another small thing is that it's kind of hard to understand what the difference is when you're in a town. Which things are sort of informational and which things are things to do. Because it's always just a list and you're kind of clicking into the list. But anyway, that's a small thing. I wish you could set waypoints on the maps, because I keep checking the maps. But there is, those are all just kind of minor nitpicks. I really dig the world and I really dig the art style and the feeling. And I think it will be really cool when they build out more of the world. And I'm looking forward to trying more of it. I think this is way farther along than like Space Base was. Yeah. And considering their Kickstarter, maybe they were already partially done with the game in October. But this is a long way to come. Yeah. Games take a while, particularly something this complicated. And it's really impressive that, particularly when there's been some sort of high profile failed game projects recently, that this one actually seems to be doing really well. So, I think, if you're the type of person who kind of likes getting in on something like this early, in other words, you don't need it fully polished and everything, I think it's a lot of fun to try out. And I think it's like $18.
Yeah.
So it's not the cheapest thing, but there's plenty of more expensive games to be playing. And I think it's a pretty good value. So. All right. So it sounds like we basically recommend it if you understand what the nature of alpha software is.
Yeah.
And okay, so maybe we'll talk about it in the future if we go back to it and see if we still like it. Yeah. Okay. So I don't think we have spoilers really.
I don't know. Unless you guys want to talk about some of the specific things that happened to you, like in the course of your adventuring, that might be considered spoilers.
Do you have anything you want to talk
about? Nothing maybe comes to mind, but maybe once you guys start.
I don't know. I'm actually kind of curious to see like if you guys saw the same things that I did.
Okay, sure. All right. So we'll do some quick spoiler thing. In the meantime, if you want to contact us, you can find us on Twitter at Low Earth Show. You can send us email at feedback@lowearthorbit.fm. All the stuff we talk about, escape velocity, for example, I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, it's a classic.
Well, I've heard the name, but I don't know what it is.
So good. One of my favorites.
Okay. Well,
and it involves actually a surprising amount of combat, so you would probably be surprised.
Okay. I'll check the link on lowearthorbit.fm to learn more, because that's where we put the links for stuff we talk about. And we have a YouTube page. And I have a plan. I have a secret plan that I forget. I just realized I'm going to talk to you guys about before we start recording. But I think I have a campaign to get more subscribers. So tune in next time, and we'll see if I can convince you guys to jump in. But please subscribe there, because every subscription and every like on videos really helps people find us. It gets us into better rotation on YouTube, which means more views and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to talk about spoilers, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, so Justin, you want to talk about maybe some of the story stuff you encountered and like if it was the same as ours?
Yeah, I just want to compare notes. So did you guys talk to the blind what's his name?
The guy in Fallen Legend.
Yeah.
He said. I'm trying to remember the specific details. Like he had some package he wanted me to put in the hull of the ship and take up north somewhere. I didn't even know where it was.
Yeah.
And then I think he then came back to me again and said, here's one more thing. Yeah, so he gave me the one initial shipment of something or other. Okay. And then
But you took him up on the offer. You actually went and did the stuff.
I did, yeah. Did you? I haven't like dropped it off yet because I didn't know I can't find the place where he wants to go. But yeah.
Yeah, I didn't run across this.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't explore the fall. I feel like I went through all the places in Fallen Land that I was like I could that wasn't locked, and I didn't. I mean, I brought the tomb people, whatever,
which is a great way to make money, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man, I think I lose money every time that I do it.
What?
Well, because so you get three tomb pilgrims or whatever, right? Yep. They're worth 15 echoes apiece when you get them to vendor bite. First of all,
by the way, that's a sentence. It should not make sense.
You were both like,
sounds like
it does. Yeah. He's totally right. Yeah. Let's talk about the price of tomb people. So first of all, tangent. It took me 3 or 4 permadeaths to figure out where the hell that town even was, because for some reason it just never occurred to me it would be that close to London.
Oh.
And so I was going like to the far northeastern corner of the map. Like, and
I just heard north, so I went straight north. And it was like, and then like they were like, there was some little thing like the echoes of the dead was already like, oh, it must be close. And pulled into the dock. I was like, wow, was that all?
That's not what happened to me. I must have just like veered a little bit too far east and like missed that. I don't know, whatever. I missed it. So anyway, so when I
make a U-turn at
yes, exactly. Proceed to the route. So anyway, when I figured out, so you get 3 of them. They're worth 15 each. You got to take them up to this town. Fuel is $10 a barrel, and my ship is burning like 4 barrels of fuel to get there and back. And so that's like 40 echoes right there. So I'm only getting 45 for the trouble, but I'm spending 40 to get there and back, basically.
But when you go there and come back, you also get paid for collecting information from that port. So you get another 10.
Okay. It's still like, the margins are pretty slim.
Yeah, it's barely
It's like the worst
surviving.
kind of grinding. And what happens is I always get hit by flock of bats on the way back. Every time those bats are there for me. And they're not there on the way up. So I don't know how it...
They were there on the way up for me.
Oh, they're never there on the way up. And then it's lousy with them on the way down. I don't know why.
They're super easy to take out, though.
They are, but it's a pain in the ass. It takes forever.
Yeah, so the thing, and this is like kind of I guess this is the thing that occurred to me about like the JRPG kind of comparisons, where there's always like this random, like, there seems to be just a fleet of rats just in the middle of... Like I was playing
rats,
and you spend it's something stupid.
Right? It's always like some like really low. It's grinding.
Yeah.
You spend all day like killing rats and getting 5 XP, and then finally you're like, thank God I gathered enough of these. I can go do something else with my life.
It's rats with wings. It's the only difference. So I mean that was a problem I had with Ni no Kuni too, which was like it was just like, oh, you encountered a snake again at like 5 seconds ago. So you kind of go through the motions, and that's I wish it wasn't just bats and crabs. I'm sure there are more at some point, but anyway. So but it's easy to just kill them. And the interesting thing, I was trying to figure out why did they put so many bats and stuff in the water, and then I realized, oh well, if you take them out and you don't eat them, then you can take down your terror points. So it's sort of a way to survive the trip.
Yeah, you only lose like 1 terror point, don't you?
You only gain 1 back. For taking those guys out. So it's not quite enough. Really to maintain, because I was kind of like hesitant to go too far out.
Sure.
Which unfortunately kind of works against you in an exploration game. Like if you feel like you can't go far enough without having to double back somewhere, then it's sort of, I don't know. That was a feeling I had like from A Dark Room, where I just felt like,
man, that game was also punishingly hard in a way that made you really genuinely terrified to get very far away from camp, because like it was very real possible you would not get to come back.
Yeah, for the same reasons, right? Where you have a set number of like things that you need that you have on the ship, and then to get back in time, you have to calculate. Well, I need
can I stop here?
Exactly. Yeah, and it's not always like as simple as like stopping at another port and picking up fuel, because it's twice as expensive at any other port compared to Fallen London. So, they're balancing that stuff. And that I wish it was like actually a lot more generous, so that I could easily just go to the other end of the map. Like, I don't even know how you made it, honestly, and still made it back.
I didn't make it back.
Well,
that was the thing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of mutinies in my first couple of rounds.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't have a lot of deaths and stuff, but I don't know. I might have been a lot more cautious.
Yeah, you may have. The one that I'm on now, I've been a lot more successful because I've been less ambitious in like the very first trips, and I'm slowly working my way up to like the really big ones that I was doing from the very get go.
Yeah. That's kind of the JRPG thing where you have to fight 1,000 rats or whatever until you can take on eagles or something like that. So I don't know what else there is, other than bats and stuff. But did you guys encounter like you took other ships out and stuff?
Yeah.
I haven't tried this, but there's another ship that it looks like I can like land next to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that like an enemy?
No. It's like a lighthouse. They're like lighthouse ships.
Oh, yeah, I plowed into one. There's trying to dock it at one point.
There's really not much to do on them. I mean, the only thing you can do, I think, is you can give them news. Like you can give them recent news.
Yeah, like and sell it to them or just give it to them.
I don't remember.
Okay,
I don't remember if you sell it to them or if they're just like, that's great. I don't remember.
Because that is actually one of the more interesting mechanics where you can kind of like be like a news barter between towns.
Yeah.
So you can like, you don't always have to take it all the way back to Fallen London.
Right.
Like you can pick up something at one port, take it basically another port, and just like sell the information.
Right.
And then,
That's one thing I was disappointed by. With all this intelligence and news and stuff, I desperately wanted to read it.
And you can.
You can. And I was like, I mean, it'd be fine if it was still like a resource that could be traded. But I would love if they would hire someone to actually write like some like really intriguing like you know
just throw away.
Yeah, and then that could maybe be some like crazy like conspiracy story like rumors of wars. Like I don't know. I mean, if it like didn't end up leading to anything, but just was like it was. I imagine something really entertainingly written that could elevate the story if you want if you wanted to take the time to actually read through it.
Yeah.
Kind of like little bits of stories used to get like SimCity 2000, and they're like got just a little bit of a hint of a story.
Yeah.
And I clicked furiously on all of those and could never find a way.
And like
to
the
read
generated
them.
newspapers.
Yeah.
it actually occurred to me this would be a really great template for like a space exploration game too. I mean, all the same mechanics would apply. It would be
Escape Velocity.
I think that's exactly
that
Escape
what it is?
Velocity.
Oh.
Escape Velocity is better, but I mean this game may get there.
Escape Velocity is also finished. Yeah. Did you? So I'm trying to think.
Did you get you got the? There's some stuff super close that I assume everybody got, like the three sisters on the.
Yeah, I've talked to two of the three sisters.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Yeah, how far out did you? What's the furthest out you've gone?
I don't know.
I've gone all the way north.
I think I've gone close to all the way north.
Did you get to the Avid Horizon?
No.
That's weird.
Did you guys hit the what are they, like fireflies or fake stars or?
Yeah, well, I saw this up north where they're kind of flocks of them.
Yeah.
I thought they were almost like snow or something at first.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen those. Those aren't snow.
Well, it's weird. So like
they look like snow in the graphics.
Yeah, it's. I think this is the way you're supposed to. I don't know exactly what they're supposed to do, but one of the interesting mechanics is that you encounter something out in the world and you kind of get to sort of create your own or choose, I guess, your own myth about what it is.
Oh, okay.
So in this case, it was I ran across those things and like they're like the crew's scared. It's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to like run away from them, or do you want to make some sort of mythical story out?
Yeah, it pops up like a little actual dialogue.
Yeah, and it's chance. So like they may not buy it, but if they do buy it, then like it brings their concern down.
Yeah, it reduces the terror and all.
Did you also run into like the white bat?
No.
Oh wait, no. Yeah, I did.
I just did that right like at the very end. I didn't actually really like end up picking a path for that, but it's a similar thing where you like there's a superstition that there's a white bat. There's one like crazed crew member has, and you can either like embrace it and try to kill this thing, or like discount it and say he's crazy and lock
make
him
an
up.
offering to one of the gods. Or something.
There's much of it. Yeah,
I did hit the. Did you get the salt?
Yeah.
That came up as part of the white bat thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think that is an offering to salt.
Okay,
but then I've also seen the offerings to stone, and I've seen what's the other one? There's salt stone. There's one other god. I don't know. I've seen a couple of those.
That's interesting. Okay, so I think I did. So it wasn't a white bat on the map.
No.
Oh, okay, then I did get that.
It's a little story thing that pops
Yeah,
up.
then I did. Yeah, I got that. There's a bunch of things that I feel like I should be able to land on, but I don't see a landing spot.
Yeah.
Are those islands out there? And they even have names and everything. Is there some way to land on them?
A lot of the ones, even the ones that have names, you can't land on.
Okay. Or yet. Maybe they're going to.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Some of them are really small.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of disclaimers at the beginning about how like the thing that's most not done yet is
the
map.
world. Yeah, exactly.
I actually went on one of my run throughs. I went really, really deep into like the northwest area, and eventually, like they definitely are going to put land there, but they haven't made any graphics for it, so it's just stark white. It's like completely white, and it's just like to do. Not really, but it has like the name of the place, and then like the little thing in the journal is like, "We're not done yet. Check it back in a later build." So
wow.
yeah. I'm trying to think. So I have been pretty far north. I've been through a bunch of the stuff in the north. I've been to whatever the volcano island is that's up there.
Yeah, I'm by that.
Mount Palmerston, whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh, is that? Oh, I think that's the one that the bandit wants you to go to.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it? Like
Yeah.
one of the things he gives you and says, take this up to Mount whatever.
Mhm.
That thing.
Yeah.
Okay. But you didn't have the stuff in the hull at that point, I'm guessing. Like you didn't have the thing to drop off.
Probably. I think the first thing that he asked me to do was to deliver the like bottle of unmarked souls or whatever to one of the islands, and you come back and he gives you some money, and eventually he has you do things where it's like, I'm going to give you this money and you need to go trade it for the goods on this other island. You need to come back, and if you come back to London without it, I don't care why, but you're going to be in trouble. And so you have to he gives you a lot of money, and you have to sort of like not spend it because you have to take it to this other guy to make the trade and then come back, and so now you're kind of, I don't know, it gets more complicated. And then like there's some stuff way out east that I got to and didn't last very long. It's huge. They'll play, and it's really, really big.
Which is surprising when they say the world's not like done, but it's still
there's already
pretty
a lot.
Damn big. Yeah,
there's already a lot.
Did you see on the map like there are these blue wave symbols or something? Like
those are the ports. That's where you can dock.
That's weird because there was one of those was a area of ocean that kind of had some stuff underneath, but there wasn't actually a port thing. Maybe it was a bug or place yet to. I went right by it and there was nothing to land on. So I thought maybe it was places I had.
It's not one of the lighthouse ships?
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, you're right.
That's right, a lighthouse ship, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so then there's also like some story elements that eventually start to pop up. Like if you go into town enough times in London, you can eventually like meet
the Admiral.
Well, not the Admiral.
Oh.
Well, there's the Admiral, which is cool. But if you like keep going to the pubs, like you can eventually like meet a special someone and like carry like their locket with you and stuff. Yeah, it's it's really interesting. And like that stuff I think is really cool. And I want to sort of like keep progressing the story forward, And there's also stuff where it's like you can get nightmares and like you dream of like a watching eye and stuff. And like I'm like, this is really cool. Like this is an interesting story happening.
I wish they would start that sooner.
I don't know how to progress in the story. Like, I don't know what to do to get to the next chapter in the story, which is kind of frustrating because I want to get to the next chapter, but I also don't know what I should be doing. Like, I feel like I'm kind of aimlessly just sort of like trying to upgrade my ship by running errands, but I don't know, like,
there's this
if that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Pages thing, which I feel like has something to do with it, but I don't know if that's knowledge or story.
I think the pages is more knowledge. I think the pages is like your perception, right? Because I think that as your pages stat gets higher, it becomes easier to unlock secrets, and then you can sell the secrets to the university, or you can spend the secrets to like upgrade your officers.
Which, by the way, the university person is hilarious.
Yeah, it's really strange, the description.
Oh, you haven't found or her hit?
That's the whole point.
Yeah,
right?
You don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I said, it's compelling in ways that I really would have a hard time explaining.
It's
really hard to explain why it's like I keep coming back to it, but it's cool.
Yeah. We should mention it is the Apollo 45th anniversary, which we're
Apollo 11.
Yes.
Landing on the moon.
Yeah. So we're
Cocky.org has a really cool live replay of the moon landing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like the live television broadcast.
Yeah. So nice. He has a little like website with like a picture of a really old television, and then they replay they replay all the recordings from YouTube. Like lives you can start and you kind of sit through like what it would have been like to watch the moon landings 45 years ago.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What did you want to talk about? That was, you said let's wait for After Dark to talk about for Steam Early Access. Oh, Kerbal.
Oh yeah, so Kerbal has a new thing recently called First Contract, and it's another stab, I guess. It's sort of a story mode. So they had the what do they call it? The mode, it's not like a career mode, but it's a mode where you have to like unlock all this science. Like you do missions and you get
the goo thing.
Yeah, you get science points for like, oh, you've exposed the goo to air, you've exposed the goo to space, you've exposed the goo to the moon, you've exposed the goo to whatever. So there was that. But now they've got this new thing called First Contract, where it's more like you can basically bid on contracts.
Oh.
And you can
inspired by SpaceX.
Yeah, I guess. And you can get paid like in some kind of currency for performing these jobs. And some of the first jobs are really easy, like launch a spaceship. It's like as soon as you press the launch button, you win the contract, right? And then there's, set an altitude record of 5,000 meters. And then there's probably like, I think, get into a low orbit or whatever, right? The other interesting thing is that now they're actually counting the cost of your spaceship. So every time you add a part to your spaceship, that adds to the cost of the mission. And you have to make sure that the cost of the mission does not exceed the amount of like budget that you are going to get from the contract. And you also have to like be careful to make sure the spaceship comes back in one piece, because you can reuse those parts and like reduce the cost of your mission if you build the spaceship in a way that you can actually reuse the components for another launch afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
You re-land your spaceship crossover style?
You could, yeah.
Oh, nice.
If you and the thing, there's also a science tree here too, so you have to eventually unlock like more and more bits of technology. But yeah, you can build like glider landers and stuff, and you can actually touch down on the runway and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's like, wow, this is turning into a real game. This is great. So yeah, I keep meaning to revisit Kerbal Space Program, but I think I might play with the sandbox mode where I can just get all the big rockets right away. Because I'm just like, screw it, I want to go to another planet. I'm tired of
It would be awesome. I want to hear if you end up on a different one of the other planets, because that seems like that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it seems really tough. I mean, it's really tough to do in real life.
Yeah,
but like it's
like multiple. You need to do multiple missions, right? Like to like set up so that you're like have a space station.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of the way I want to do it.
Yeah,
but that's hard. The thing that's really like incredibly difficult, and it's kind of like the game's fault, is docking things in orbit is way harder than it needs to be. Part of it's because it's just genuinely hard, because you have to like get the orbits completely synced up, and you have to make sure that you actually get up there with enough fuel left over to do the docking and like all this other stuff. But the controls are so poor. It's like this is already so hard, and like the controls are like almost deliberately obtuse to do it. It's like, oh my god, it's so bad. But that I think would be the way to do it. It's like build your sort of platform in orbit, and then get up there, and then go from there. But you still got to do a ton of stuff. Like you basically, well, just like when they really go to Mars, you have to wait for the right time.
Yeah. Yes.
Like there's a certain
you
moment.
Be close enough.
Yeah. There's a certain. Well, it's not even. You don't want to be necessarily close at the moment when you launch, but you want to make sure that as they move while you're in flight, it works out favorably for you. And so there's like charts on like the Kerbal wiki where it's like, okay, you want Kerbin and like say Duna, which is sort of like their Mars. Like you need them to be in just like this angle, and then if you launch at kind of this angle, then you'll get there with like guaranteed minimum fuel or whatever, right? But it's like it's crazy. There's so much.
You have to like wait for Earth time to progress, in like real Earth time.
No, so you can fast forward like 100x speed.
Yeah, it's like in 3 years, finally be able to launch my mission.
Yeah,
my one shot.
Yeah, it is. I think it is like months of game time, but like once you get over a certain altitude, you can crank the speed up to like 1000x speed or whatever. So it's only a few minutes in real world time, but still, you're like, okay, I gotta wait. I literally have to wait for the planets to align before I can start this mission. Yeah. So it's pretty
quite the career.
It's another one of those games where it's like strangely compelling, where it's like, trust me, it's fun. You'll have to learn orbital mechanics. It's great. No, come back. Where are you going?
Okay. We'll check that out. Cool. See you next time. I'm going to sit in the middle.
So you want me to
just
model here? Okay.
Bats carried London underground.
Yeah. This totally sounds like when like 6-year-olds make up a story. Exactly. And then there were bats, and then they like went underground, and there were boats down there.
It totally does.
Because we're not recording right now. No, we'll pick that afterwards. I'm trying to think of some fun way to keep people subscribing and have one horrible idea. Okay. Horribly strange idea. I also want to talk about wait, don't judge me. What the nature of that would be exactly.
Nice. Okay, cool. No, that sounds great. Okay. That sounds really good.
Okay.
Let me go first. Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. I think it's probably out of that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Really wants our attention.
Hello. Okay.
It's dead now. Points for like, oh, you've exposed the goo to air, you've exposed the goo to space, you've exposed the goo to the moon.